Hello, everyone. My name's Neil, and I have a question. Do you maybe have a chronic illness and maybe you're struggling with it? Maybe you're struggling with the mental aspect of it all, um, dealing with those feelings, the ups, the downs, all those different things that go with it. Well, I want you to know that you're not alone. There are many of us out there that are fighting with chronic illness, and maybe you can't even see it from the outside. Maybe you can. And those chronic illnesses can make us feel vulnerable. They can make us, feel unworthy, or they can make us feel, mentally bad, as far as feeling like we can't do the things we used to be able to do. So I experience all these kind of thoughts and emotions as well. And I'm sure that there are plenty of people out there that have gone through it as well. When you're get diagnosed with something like that, and if you were just diagnosed with something, or when you do get diagnosed, I'm sure there's been symptoms that you've been dealing with for probably a long time before that even happening, with no answers. And sometimes not having an answer is more frustrating than having an answer is, and knowing what's wrong with you, because we sit there and the things that go through the mind, the worries, how am I going to do this? I have no energy today. How am I going to get up and go do this thing or go do that thing? I have a friend that wanted me to go somewhere with him, and now I don't have the energy, and I feel bad because I really wanted to go, but I've already canceled on them, and all these different scenarios that go through the situation, and it's a daily struggle. It really is. For me, I have end-stage liver cirrhosis, and with that, I have other things. I have a belly button hernia. I've got a portal hypertension, which is restriction in the portal vein, the one that goes through the liver. And then also I have hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which causes this, having to be fed through a tube because I can't swallow food. Food gets stuck. It's not even that it gets stuck, it's that my esophagus overreacts and squeezes and doesn't let go. So now I get fed with this. I do have to go back sometime in June to have surgery, and there's a lot of risk to the surgery because of the fact that I have the liver disease. So hopefully everything goes well with that. But once they get that permanent fixture in there, that'll be nice. I will tell you, since I've had this in, my energy level has been so much better. But back to what I was talking about. So these different things, like we feel like a burden. You may find it feeling like a burden, especially with friends, people that you talk to, and you don't, and you feel like you need to get some of these things out of your mind, because all these things that just pile up in the mind just come too much, and eventually it's going to overflow, and that's going to be worse for you. So there's no harm in talking about what your illness is. It's your illness, okay? It's part of you. Whether, for all the bad that these illnesses bring, it is part of you. And I think there is something to surrendering to that, accepting the fact that this is me. This is my life moving forward. These are my restrictions, but I can do these different things. And then you find new things to do that are, maybe easier for you or put less stress on you, and different products to use. And, it's all trial and error, when it comes to those kind of things. But, the mental aspect of it all, the feeling guilty for being sick, or because you had to cancel something, or you have to burden, or you feel like a burden because maybe you're stuck in the hospital and you got to bug people to go pick something up for you, or give you a ride home, or whatever it may be, or you just feel annoying because you feel like you're talking again about that pain you're dealing with. And once again, you're having a conversation about this or that you've had, plenty of times before with the same person. But there's nothing wrong with that. And that is a hard thing to accept and to realize. If a friend is a true friend. They're not going to get angry at you for talking about something that's important that's going on in your life. You know, I mean, it's something that maybe, I definitely wouldn't recommend filling the whole friendship with nothing but that, obviously. But then that would be a little too far on that end of the spectrum. But I'm talking about the normal cases. I'm sure pretty much everybody out there has a friend that they, or somebody that they confine the most into. I got one of these friends, they just live in a different state, so it's all over the phone kind of thing. But dealing with all this can be extremely hard and very taxing. So give yourself a break. If you feel like you need to sleep a little more, sleep a little more. If you're working while you're dealing with these things, try to find little things that maybe that you don't need to be doing, and give those little things up and maybe replace them with something new that's easier, that takes less energy. Sometimes we don't have the energy to do the things we want to do, and then we go and spend that energy with something else, and now we're done. So, planning out your day is a very good thing, saying, these hours, I'm going to set aside this amount of time for me to rest, or I'm going to go here during this time, and then, then I'm going to come home, and before I go to this next thing, I'm going to take a little nap, or whatever it might be, to be able to get the most out of your day for you and what you're dealing with. Because we could have the same disorder or disease, and we could be completely different with it. It could affect you different than it could affect me, or maybe the things that work for you may not work for me, and vice versa. So you got to really find the things that work for you. And don't be afraid to speak up to your doctors and, let them know what's going on. If you don't think that something's working, tell them. Because I do believe that there's a lot of times that the doctor tells you something, and then they ask you how it's doing, and then we just say fine off the top of our head because we want to move on, or because, you feel like they're not going to be able to do anything else anyway, so what's the point of it? Or they're not going to care, so why bother? But you don't know until you try. So you definitely want to be able to relay those things to those doctors and those medical professionals if you need to. You got to advocate for yourself. Make sure that is very important. I've had I've had a few different doctors in my life as far as a family physician kind of thing. And the one I have now, she's the one that helped me get tested for the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And all she did was listen to me. Now, all the tests came out negative, and they normally do for regular blood tests and things like that. But I explained to her what was going on. And, I actually wound up finding out about Ehlers-Danlos syndrome while looking up different symptoms that caused the swallowing issues that I was going on. And then all of a sudden I was reading more about it, and I realized I've been in pain since I was a teenager. My whole body has hurt. And I'm 45 now. So, it's years and years, 30 years, I've been in pain. Now, I'm used to it, and I used to actually think that everybody had pain, that it was just a normal thing, that we just had some sort of pain, and it's just the way it was. And if I took a shower, forget about it. When I got out of the shower, I would have zero energy. It would feel like somebody just sucked every little bit of energy out of me and took it. It was rough, and there was, especially in my mid-20s and my mid-30s were probably the worst part of it. And I was just finally diagnosed a year ago with this. So, or maybe not even quite a year ago. It just took, that many different situations to be able to line up that I was finally lucky enough to get the diagnosis. And I think that a lot of these things, thanks to social media and things like that nowadays, there's more information about them out there. So it's easier to be able to learn about these things. And, back in the 90s and stuff, there wasn't really any of that. So we didn't have those different things. So, but be careful looking things up, because it is very easy to go beyond and all of a sudden we've got some crazy disease that only happens, in some other foreign country, somewhere else, or whatever. We wind up thinking that we got something extra wrong with us when we don't. So be very careful. And if you're the type of person that you can read something and, you'll feel like maybe you have that, maybe, if you know that, be extra careful what you read, because we're all human beings and we all have different personalities and we all do things differently. So there is no one particular way. I mean, find what works best for you. But with the mental aspect, I do definitely recommend finding someone to talk to. I've got a program that they call me once a week, and we can have discuss what's going on and stuff like that, and it is a help. It truly is, and but it doesn't stop those feelings. I still feel like a burden when I talk about different things that's going on, or all of a sudden something new happens with my diseases or disorders, and I'm bringing it up again, and I feel like I'm broken record, like I'm just constantly coming up with these new things going on, and I wind up feeling so annoying, but that's in my head, my friend would never think that of me like that, and I'm sure that many of your friends wouldn't either, so it's just a matter of fighting through it and finding a good friend that'll be able to listen. But I also recommend having a professional, somebody to talk to, so you're not putting it all on your friends, because you want your friends to be able to take that you have there, so you can take a break from this reality, not just so you can live in this reality. So there's nothing wrong with seeking some help, finding somebody to be able to talk to you. There's nothing wrong whatsoever. I mean, I do it, and there are so many people out there that do it as well. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you automatically have to go on medicine or what have you, or maybe something like that works for you. But, I'm not on any medicine for that. I consider myself lucky for that. There's me in the situation I'm in and everything that goes through my mind. I mean, I could very easily be on some of those medicines, and I haven't had to. So I am grateful for that. And if you are on some of those to help you cope and to get by, nothing wrong with that. We find what works for us. So don't feel shame in anything that when it comes to being chronically diseased, I'll go into a hospital or a doctor's office and I'll feel like I've talked too much, I've given too much information, and I'll feel silly, or I'll feel like I'm talking too much, and then I find myself apologizing, because you say these things so many times, especially when your nurse comes in and then the doctor comes in and asks you the same question. And so you're repeating everything over again to them. And then they do a shift change on the next nurse and the next doctor, and you've repeated it 4 times now in 1 hour. Yeah, been there. I'm sure that many of you have too. So, but it happens. So, just remember that person is new to the situation, and I know they can read what's going on, but doctors, if you're walking into a situation, they want to hear it from the person they're treating. So it's not just to drive you nuts. It's for a reason. And if you got to break down and cry, break down and cry. There's nothing wrong with that. The mental aspect of dealing with everything that may go on, and maybe you're like me and you're not able to work because I've got multiple hernias and I've got, the EDS, I got to walk around with a tube hanging out of my nose and everything else. And, it's very hard to get by, especially, disability doesn't cover much. And especially, now that insurance is I'm being charged for insurance, it's taking even that extra money. So it's hard to get by as well too. And, there are different programs out there that you could check with your city or your town or what have you if you need help that way. You can definitely look into those different things. You can be careful with Googling that one because you may wind up with like going down a rabbit hole. I've been there. And you wind up about, on like some other company that is using words that make no sense to you. Yeah. They're spamming you, and it's terrible that they use those kind of ads to spam you, but it's true, they're out there, so be careful of that. But don't give up, never give up. And if you've stayed and watched the whole video, I want to thank you for that. Please hit the like button if you want to, and also subscribe for more videos if you want to see more. I really do appreciate each and every one of you that has followed me, and the people that have commented on my videos, and people that have helped me my GoFundMe, which I link into the About section on the videos. That's been very kind of everybody that's helped me to be able to get by, because, I mean, there were times that I had no way of getting by, and, I was able to get a vehicle because, it was a cheap vehicle. It wasn't a crazy vehicle, but it works, and I'm grateful for it. And that was from the generosity of some people helping out on that GoFundMe. So I do not make these videos for that purpose. I make these videos to help people. So you do not need to, but I do want to say thank you to everybody who has, and stay blessed, stay awesome, try to stay as healthy as you can, and remember, you are worth it. You are worth it.